kneel before the sun.
Metropolis is almost in ruins. And Superman has lost his powers. Or has he? As the adventure continues in Superman 2, rated PG. Now playing. Check newspapers for local listing.
The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
You will suffer an eternity for this. Superman, thank God. I mean, get him!
Yeah, Kevin, go get him.
That summon a bitch.
Yep. Well, everybody, we are doing Superman 2, the Donner cut. We are not going to be doing the theatrical. That is a totally different film, basically, of sorts. And you are joined, as always, by Jeff. I am of Suns and Shadows here. It looks like our media is... our banners got turned off for our names, Kevin.
Did we do that?
I don't know. Pros at work here, everybody. But we also have Kevin and my running buddy. And so, Kevin, did you fix it?
No, I didn't. I could see our names down at the bottom. I just don't see it.
There we go.
All right.
Well, welcome to 0 Point Reviews, everybody, where we like to talk about the good, the bad, and judge each and every one of our movies. And sometimes we judge each other. Hey, you like this? We didn't. Or we liked it and you didn't. That is A-okay. And make sure you hit the like button on the way in, share and subscribe. And let's get on rolling. Kevin, tell me about your first memories of Superman 2.
Oh, gosh. This, just like with the first movie, it's probably one of the more pivotal features that I ever saw as a kid. Like Superman 1 and 2 was always just kind of on together. I remember it was hard to decipher which was which.
Okay.
But I love it just the same. To me, it's like watching The Lord of the Rings. If you do it in one sitting, it's kind of the same movie. And I don't know, was this the first picture that they filmed back to back? Or to the
roughly
first two pictures that they filmed back to back, and you're like, you know what? We're going to make these two movies.
It might be one of the first like big movies to do that. I don't know for sure. Call me a film nut, but I am not a mega film nut. I don't know film history very well to understand if any other two movies shot back to back. This very well may have been the first, but correct us if we're wrong. We got an interactive chat. We got comments down below. Make sure you participate.
Yeah.
But how this went was they started shooting towards the end of the first one, and then I believe they had to take a break to do the release of the first movie, and it took another year or two to get back to finishing this movie.
Oh, God.
Well, and there's the big production snafu where they got rid of Richard Donner and brought in a different director. And so Richard Donner had shot a large amount of the freaking movie, and then they brought in Lester, and he shot X amount of time. I think it was some odd percentage of the film. And, we got a completely different film in the theaters for that.
Yes. And from what I just read and what I understand, he didn't have to just complete the remainder of the film. He had to go back and reshoot certain parts in order to say that he directed X amount of the film in order to get directing credit, because whatever pissing match happened between Richard Donner and Warner Brothers Studios, they wanted Donner's name nowhere on that poster, nowhere in the credits. So in order to have that happen, they told him, you go back and reshoot that, so it's only your name on the picture. Whew. That is some cheap, petty bullshit, but that is Warner Brothers for you.
I want to say, yeah, that's some petty bullshit. Let's see. I kind of remembered it had something to do with the producers too, I thought.
Well, yeah.
With Donner, but when they kicked Donner off, and when they were going to do reshoots, like even like Gene Hackman and Margot both found their schedules to be a little busy to be able to complete those. So they had to bring in alternate ways to redo those scenes. Like they brought in a Gene Hackman voice imitator and a stand-in. I don't know how they ended up doing Margot's.
I'm not sure. But even watching I mean, I guess I can't say because we didn't watch those cuts. Or we didn't watch the recut. I don't really notice Luther's face or his voice without his face. I didn't really notice that much on this one.
Yeah, I don't think they
I
had to
wasn't
do
looking either.
too much for him. Apparently, it was just enough they could get away with kind of doing short little things and alternate takes, maybe.
Well, that's cool. It's not like they shot or reshot this movie 4 times.
No. But did you see this in theaters, or how did you first?
No.
Okay.
Gosh, this was probably a VHS or Betamax thing.
Okay.
Watching it over at my friend's house or over at my aunt and uncle's house. Somebody that had cable. VHS. Of course, this was one of the first VHS sets that was still available early on in the home rental days. Like this had the big clamshell cases. Like it was part of the home video or family home.
Oh yeah, that was
Warner
the black
Brothers
cases from Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the family section. That and no, Gremlins wasn't there quite yet. Gremlins wasn't considered a family movie until the 90s.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh geez, for me, it was easily TV. It was on TV. That's how I saw it. It wasn't even VHS. I mean, I always saw those at the rental stores, but that's not how I watched it. I'm pretty sure it was just on broadcast TV or syndicated or whatever it was. That's that's my first and it's also of the different cut of this movie. It was basically the theatrical / TV cut. TV always had a little extra time because they were filling out for like nearly 3 hours, a 2-hour movie, or they would trim it down to like an hour and 40 minutes back when we were kids, just to get in some commercials. Nowadays, they trim out like a third of the movie, or they leave it completely uncut and just take out the swearing, the violence, and just drag it out for 3 hours. But I always thought the movie was a bit goofy as a kid, and that's why when I would watch like Superman 3 and 4, it's like, oh, it's just more of the same of Superman 2. Superman 1's very serious, very different with a little camp. 2 with the theatrical cut is a bit too goofy for me. And that's why this time I wanted to watch the Donner cut, because I had never seen it before. This is my first time watching the Donner cut.
Same. I meant to buy it when it came out on DVD. Never got around to it. I meant to get it when it hit the Blu-ray. Never got around to it. Oh God, do I need to get it now?
This is my Steelbook collection.
Wow.
No art on the inside, but they got like, oh no.
No, that's Warner Brothers for you. They don't put much effort out.
Oh yeah, they do.
Oh, never mind.
They have the Unholy Trio there, and then I know a little physical media collection before we get to the movie, and then Miss Lois Lane on the other side. Is that where things started for you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think so. Oh God, speaking of which, though, you know what wasn't in this version of the movie was the Eiffel Tower scene.
Yep, they completely cut it out.
Like I was like, where?
There were some things I thought were like, wait, I thought something else was in this movie, and of course your background, the scene in Niagara where they actually are in the hotel room, that was kind of cut out of Donner version, but I think that's largely because Richard Donner, he didn't want to go too goofy.
No,
with it. He wanted to keep that to a minimum. And that's ultimately, we'll get to that later, but that ultimately gave us a very different experience with this movie.
He had a vision that was for 1 and 2, it was kind of a complete package of a story. It was a beginning, a middle, and an end for Clark to become Superman and evolve. And it's kind of a complete story watching it together. When you got the reshoots and stuff like that, that's where you started getting Warner Brothers letting it get stupid and cheesy and campy. And you're right. It starts to snowball down from there, because none of that stupid cheese is in the Donner cut. It's just as serious as the first picture was.
Right.
I mean, they do. Well, we'll get to that at the bad, but I mean, otherwise we were already talking about it.
That's okay.
I don't know. You don't see that cheese in this, and I appreciated the hell out of it. I've always got a special place in my heart for Superman 2, because that's General Zod. It's Neil before Zod. It's Lex coming back. It's Otis getting fucked up by the dogs.
Oh my God. Right.
I love certain parts of it, and I love the camp to it too. The room behind me, I was telling you, like, I always loved this shit as a kid because it had this fireplace that had satin curtains that you had to pull a satin rope to open them around. So while you're getting down, like, fire's going up and down because you can control the fire level with the satin ropes too.
Oh my God.
Embers getting on this fucking curtain, just lighting the whole hotel room on fire. I'm just like, as an adult, like, that's terrifying. As a kid, that's pretty cool. And then the bed was a 4-poster bed that had lava lamps on each post that went from the floor to the ceiling.
Your attention to detail is astounding, Kevin. Please tell us more.
Well, there was mirrors with semen stains on the ceiling, but
wait, you mean so Superman couldn't get to sleep that night? Sounds like a cat was involved with that situation.
That would be awesome. Oh, wait,
Tracy Scoggins. We're also reviewing Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman season 1. So stay tuned. That'll be next week.
That cat.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got sidetracked with Cat Grant. She's not in this movie, and she kind of should be, but she is going to be in the new picture, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that should be pretty interesting. And watching this just makes me think of, like, the other kind of slash reboots. The one with Brandon Routh is the loose sequel directly to this movie specifically.
Yes.
And the first one. So it kind of, Superman starts to turn into a flow chart nowadays. Because we keep trying to tie things back into these original first 2 movies.
Because they were good.
Well, okay, yeah. But they never bring up part 3 and 4 for a very good reason. So
yes, and I was talking to Levi about that this morning. We were talking about Tremors, of course, but I was using Superman Returns as a reference. I liked the concept of Bryan Singer saying, you know what, this is going to be a sequel to part 2, but we are omitting part 3 and 4. Not an in-between part 3 and 4. It's just part 3 and 4 didn't fucking happen.
Yep.
I wasn't opposed to that, because 3 and 4, as we talked about, and we'll talk more about it next week and the week after, aren't as good as the first 2. They have their place in entertainment, but they're not as good as the first 2 by a fucking country mile.
That's when we hit the direct to home video versions of Superman.
Yeah, or made for TV. No, maybe not quite made for TV, because it was still pretty good, but
they could have been.
Yeah, it could have been. It had John Cryer. Could have been made for TV.
Oh, that was the Krypton TV show that was like that, though.
Wait, really? Was it that bad too?
I did not like that show. It was on Sci-Fi Channel. It was one of those kind of shows. Had a very interesting premise, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I never got into that, and I didn't watch Pennyworth either.
Pennyworth? We can keep going. You'll set me down a different path talking about that show. Oh my God.
Wrong side of the river.
Yep. Wrong side of the tracks on that one. Let's stick to Metropolis. Let's get rolling. Kevin, let's talk about the good Superman 2, the Donner cut. Dick
Bang!
Donner cut.
Big Dick Donner cut.
Yeah.
The good.
Swing that big D.
Yeah, so here's the callback to the very first scene in the very first movie. Like, you finally figure out the fucking bad guys from Krypton are on Earth.
Yep.
So
The
now
very
he's-
bad.
Yeah, now the shit's really in the flame. How super is he gonna be? He's not super compared to the rest of these clowns. And these clowns aren't afraid to kill.
Nope.
Kill, torture, maim, steal, whatever.
Total destruction. Like Non is supposed to be this total beast of a violent creature.
Yeah.
Zod, the brain, Ursa, the kind of chaotic element of the three.
Yeah, she's kind of a
She's a little viper is what she is.
Yeah.
That actually kind of worked
Snake.
for me.
very
Yeah.
snake-like. Sarah Douglas was amazing as Ursa.
She was very, very good. She is easily in one of my good parts of this movie.
Puta, yes. Like more
For
so than
many
Non.
reasons. Just saying.
Like for me, Non was great, but gosh, that would have been a role for Keel, Richard Keel.
Okay, yeah.
Jaws would have just been awesome as Non. It would have been.
I would have
dope.
gone with Bull from Night Court.
Shit. That would have been dope too.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. But gosh, Sarah Douglas and Terrence Stamp as Ursa and Zod, spot on. Truly spot on. Like they were just amazing. And I love Terrence Stamp coming back as the voice of Jor-El in Smallville too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I didn't even realize that till I was looking at some like behind the scenes stuff like before we came on. I was like, oh, I should probably catch up a little bit on some backstory on this because it's gonna come up.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. Like he's got scenes with, he's just a voice. He's got scenes with John Schneider that are pretty good. And you're just kind of like, wow, they should have gotten Emmy for that. Maybe not, but it was pretty good TV. But anyway,
Terrence is a fantastic actor, so he did very good in this movie, in my opinion.
God, yes. It
Good
was like,
menace, good presence, good evilness to him. Subtle at times, not so subtle at times. I'm like, this is the kind of erraticness of General Zod I like.
this was Richard III
Yes.
what he was doing, is he was playing Richard III so very, very well. You know, the kiss the ring, automatically kill him. Yes, he served his purpose. Now kill him. Like,
Oh, it's the rise before Zod, the kneel before Zod. And he's not screaming it. He's projecting like pure control in that scene to the president. And it's like, oh yeah, bring it, baby.
you just put the whole thing in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. Was not expecting you to say that.
That's kind of what he was getting at in that situation. It was a control situation.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with pleasure.
You have a freeze frame on Superman's bulge right now. Falling on top of some Buick or something in front of a marble truck.
But this scene here was like the great part. This was the cherry on top of the long story. Very good story that was part one, where he's doing super things, but there's no fighting. There's not a whole lot of danger to him. He's protecting us from danger. Like he's being Superman. He's being that savior, that amazing firefighter that he is. Here, he's protecting us from foreign invaders. And he's protecting us, like, not having to hold back. He's needing to use his powers and needing to push his powers because they're stronger than him. And this was the fight that you wanted to see in the first movie. And golly, it paid off. For the time, this was some really cool shit. There was special effects galore. It was all on a soundstage. So it was completely controlled. They had wind everywhere, buildings everywhere, people falling from buildings, or at least what looked like it was the side of buildings that were really on the ground. Like, it was just really well done because Warner Brothers has a fucking amazing set, has an amazing lot. They spared no expense for it, and it was still in its way kind of more entertaining than the Man of Steel. Like, it was the same premise as the end of Man of Steel, the fight with Zod and Ursa and Non. It's not as explosive, it's not as long and dramatic, but it's
not as combative. You don't get a fist fight that lasts for like 10 minutes and chokeholds and neck breaks, things like that. And none of that really happens.
No.
But
does he get punched through a building?
Epic. Yeah, he does send somebody through a building. And it's one of the early ones that we ever see that in. The only other movies around this time that could even do scale like this, where it was like the Godzilla movies, Mr. Rubberman in an outfit suit. No, we got Superman in spandex, and how do we shoot some guy getting punched and thrown through a goddamn building? Oh, this is how we're going to do it. So this movie brought a fun epicness to the fights. My one drawback to the fights is I wanted to see more of a 3-on-1 attack rather than, no, you go. No, you go. Now I'm going to go. Oh, now you do this and then I'll do that. It's like, I would have appreciated a little more, like maybe a little aggressiveness to the actual fist fight scenes, but like everything else around it was just so good that it's like, that's just going to be a nitpick for me because this is still a family friendly movie. We can't have a full on like kung fu movie in the middle of Superman. Doesn't work. No. It doesn't fit. He's always been punch, block, kick, and he's finally fighting people that are equal to his powers. So it's gonna be a fight, and they make the best use of what they could at the time. Gave us something totally fun and exciting. With Man of Steel, they definitely brought more of the more constant action in a fight with everything that they threw at the screen. And while that was cool and it worked, it didn't feel nearly as epic as like this did. And I think that's a certain charm in the way it was shot. And I believe Donner shot most of this.
I think so, yes. And then with this, you just believed. There was an automatic, sincere belief that there was strength involved, there was danger involved, that everything was being pushed. You were seeing Superman going as far as he could, being pushed as far as he could. Yeah. And that when he was fighting back against Zod, you didn't need to see shockwaves to know that, oh God, that was a powerful punch. You just saw him chuck Zod up in the air and throw him like a block away up into the next building. And it was totally awesome. And it was just edited really well. And they made you believe it. It didn't need all the extra that Man of Steel was. Not shitting on the way that was filmed, because God knows that little bit of extra money went a long way. But this was still damn good.
Yeah, and incredibly exciting. There's good energy between the fight scenes, and understanding that this Donner cut, this does play differently than the theatrical version. Now, I don't have the complete breakdown in front of me to be like, hey, this is what was shot in the theatrical versus what was in this, that, and the other. I don't want to do that kind of breakdown. I want to just talk about this movie on its own by itself. And by itself, they had to re-splice this shit back into the movie and make it make sense. And even Dick Donner's like, he had an intro on the disc before it started saying, you know, thank you to everybody who's made this even happen. This is as close to his version that he wanted. He had to pull in, like, he had to use some of Lester's footage because it's like some of it was in the script. He just never got a chance to finish it. So some things are in here that Lester shot. However, they were able to find some of the lost footage, the lost prints everywhere, and just that kind of ethic and effort to provide this cut. Talk about the lengths that they went to do it. The fact that he could edit it all in pretty seamlessly. I mean, there's maybe a couple scenes that stand out as like, boy, we went to that quick and we left it quick.
Canada.
My point on that was like we didn't linger too long on when Superman lost his powers in this movie. It was basically a 3-minute segment and it was over and done. He got his powers back.
Wasn't that great though?
Yeah. Yeah. But, just talking about the editing, like editing top notch on this because they were able to reassemble this cut, knowing that the footage had been lost, trying to make it even look decent. Awesome. Great job.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a miracle that footage was preserved. Like,
oh God. Yeah. They found some prints in like London and like Paris. They found it all over the goddamn place. It was almost like when they find these lost episodes of Doctor Who in like South Africa. It's like,
shit.
how the hell they get down there? Even if it is on tape or whatever it is. God. Private collectors. Hey, we somehow had a copy of this for 40 years that now, okay, we'll send it in, but you're going to pay me. It's like, dude.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally appreciative because honestly, for as much as I've loved Superman 2 growing up, my entire life, I've loved that movie. This is a much better picture. Like I had to put my phone down. So I did not text you last night going, fuck, that was a much better movie.
Yeah. I was watching this last night too. And I'm like, I kept wanting to look at my phone. I'm like, no, this is actually pretty interesting. And now if it was the theatrical version, I would probably go back and forth between my phone because I actually think that it's a bit goofy. I mean, it's still a fun ass movie. So don't get me wrong on that, but for our friend Idaho Mike, I would recommend going to archive.org. There are a couple of cuts there that might actually have additional minutes. Just saying.
Neat.
Just saying. I actually kind of want to take a look at one of those myself after watching this, but seamless movie.
It's beautiful. It was a beautiful picture.
The 4K is awesome though.
That I didn't get to see. I watched it on my Plex server. It was
still good.
Was not on Max. Fuck you, Max. You suck.
It is on like it is on Amazon Prime. It is on a few different services. But I can tell you, even downgrading to my Blu-ray just to spot check it, just to see if it made any difference. It's the typical difference between 4K and Blu-ray. Blu-ray still looks amazing. And I know the DVD and Blu-rays from like 2006 are still out there. So you could still kind of find the Donner cut one way or the other out there.
And it's way worth your collection. Like I always thought this was just going to be like a one-off thing. Like I'll eventually get it. It's got extra scenes. Maybe I'll enjoy it for the extra features on there.
It's about 11 extra minutes on this cut specifically that we watched.
Yeah, but even that having been said, like the scenes are edited differently. They're much prettier. Like the Hall of Justice, yeah, the Fortress of Solitude. Yes, the Fortress of Solitude like looks green. It was not green in the original film. It was very.
I did not remember that damn thing at all.
Yeah, and
you bring that up, and I'm like, I thought that it's in my notes.
Yeah, like Jor-El looked much cooler.
Oh my god, yeah.
The hologram of Jor-El, like it's still pudgy ass fucking Marlon Brando. What are you gonna do?
Right.
But the hologram of him looked cooler. The whole plot premise of him giving up his powers so Clark could have powers again was much cooler. Gosh, Warner Brothers just screwed the pooch with the fight that they had with Donner. Like this was a lot. This movie would have made more money.
Oh, absolutely. They talked about how the movie wasn't as big a success as the first one. Well, if you had kept Donner and just finished the movie proper, like when it was, instead of getting rid of him, just be like, all right, finish the freaking movie. After this, you're out of here. And at that point, at least he was able to complete his movie.
Yeah.
The story he wanted to tell. Now, granted, he did mention previously that he did have an idea for Superman 3 and 4 and potentially more sequels, but he did have a definitive idea for Superman 3 that we never got. But it also sounded kind of weird at the same time.
Oh, I'm sure. Again, it's
we will bring that up
so.
next week. Because even I'm like, really? That's an interesting idea for Superman. They were going to have a new love interest too.
They do in Superman 3. That's where they bring in Lana, don't they?
Yeah, but they still had Lana coming in, but there was going to be an extra love interest in there that they were going to totally erase some canon just to make it work. So might involve a super girl of sorts.
No, gross.
Well,
Jesus.
they were gonna remove the fact that they were related. They were actually gonna make it to where she was related to somebody else completely from Krypton, that she had just been captured by Brainiac and released, and then she comes to Earth. She falls in love with Superman. So I guess I'm bringing it up now, but we'll get more into detail next week on that. I was starting to read that. I'm like, oh damn, I'm gonna need to do a little more research because this is weird.
The Superman 3 we got was a horror film, so I'll take it.
No shit. But this one was it. This one, by comparison, was like Aliens to Alien. The first one, classic. The second one's just a balls out action movie, and this delivered on the action, in my opinion. Fun narrative, good story. I like him giving up his powers, like you mentioned earlier, and then being able to recognize this was a mistake. Everything I've done this whole movie, well, everything I've done so far since I hooked up with Lois has been a mistake. I am Superman. I'm here for truth, justice, and the American way, and when he recognizes that, he goes back and he talks to Jor-El, and Jor-El's like, I had a feeling your ass was going to be crawling back, so I had in mind that I was going to have to do something for you because you are my son. And he basically sacrifices what's left of the crystal and his artificial intelligence to give Clark back his superpowers to become Superman. And then a little bit later, Superman turns that shit around on the bad guys, and in that moment, I'm like, this is dope. He goes into the goddamn chamber to protect his powers instead of losing them. And everybody else loses their powers, and they all die.
He kills them all. Except for Ursa. Lois kills Ursa.
Lois took care of that bitch, no problem. And even Superman just stood there while he just dropped. It's like, later.
And it didn't, most noticeably with that fight, he could have stopped Non from jumping down there, but why?
Yeah. I'm gonna fly. You will believe a man cannot fly.
Dreams are important, but like so is reality. I could fly. But yeah, that was all super entertaining, super fun. I liked it better, but it was super fun on this and super awesome on this because it didn't have the cellophane S that he throws at Non to make him fall.
Yeah.
Superman doesn't throw cellophane S's in the comics ever.
Yeah.
I never understood that. Nobody ever understood that. It's a joke. Like it's been a joke on Family Guy. It's doesn't make sense. But it is what it is. So, I mean, all right, it's classic because we grew up with it. It's not good like this Donner Cut fight scene was. Like that was a much more classic ending for Non. Just having him fuck himself up with his despite his confidence was awesome.
Yeah. Totally appreciated that. Like this felt like the writing was a lot tighter The movie was more coherent as a whole and a lot more enjoyable. It actually felt more related to the first, felt like the second part of the first movie, honestly. And it kept this through line to it that I absolutely appreciated, including Lois and Soups hooking up and everything that happened with that. And
That I defined as the good.
oh, duly noted, Kevin.
Superman got the good. Yeah.
Great couple, excellent chemistry between the two. We talked about this last week. Like, you don't break this act up. This works way too well.
Yeah, they were amazing together. I really, really liked them. And they were
Yeah.
friends. That was so fun. Like listening to them tell stories in the old DVD documentaries was so fun. Like Margot Kidder had this tremendous smile, not just on her face, but in her eyes. Like in her eyes, she was smiling, telling these stories about what it was like working with Chris as Superman.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. No, it was actually pretty sweet. And one of the nice, sweet little moments. I mean, maybe it's not so sweet, but she was in the Superman shirt watching Clark and, or sorry, Kal-El speaking with Jor-El about sacrificing his powers and him sacrificing his powers. And she's not getting involved. She's letting him make his own decisions, and she's going to support him no matter what. And I love that. What I don't like is at the end of the movie, what ultimately happens with all of that. So
before we get to that, let me just say
that's why I'm stopping there.
My favorite part of the movie is actually between the two of them.
Yes.
Superman is not in the scene. It's Lois and Clark. And it's Donner's version of Lois finding out that Clark is Superman. And
I was going to say this, if this is what you're going, I think this is my favorite moment in the movie too.
Oh man, she fucking gets him good. Like so good.
Yeah.
In the original version, he burns his hand, or he sticks his hand in the fireplace that I told you about.
Yep.
And nothing happens. And she's like,
I remember that.
You are Superman. And there's really no hiding it. In this, he fucking flat out admits it. And she's like, they're blanks. Like she
shoots him.
Yeah. She says, I gambled with my life, not yours. What if I threaten to shoot Clark Kent?
Yeah. And I like how he just stands there, and there's no way Superman would actually feel the bullet hit him anyway. So it totally plays off like, shit, she shot me. Fuck. Well, she even says before she shoots him, now if you're Superman, you're not going to feel a thing. But if you are Clark Kent, don't try and fake falling down. Don't do any of that, because if you're Superman, I'm gonna know, and I ain't gonna let you get out of it. And he's like, well, Lois, you don't want to do this. You could really be killing Clark Kent. Boom. And then it's all like, he's like, fine. You can see the look in his face and the posture just stiffen up a little bit more, and just totally, he's like, God damn it, woman. Why are you doing this to me? And she's like, thanks. And then it's for the audience, for us, it's like even better. It's like, she didn't even shoot you with a real bullet. She totally got you, bitch.
Yeah, she owned your ass. It was fucking amazing. Like that's the way it should have been.
Yeah.
That is the way it should have been. I had an amazing appreciation for that scene. Like that scene right there. I didn't care about what they did to the rest of the movie, what cheesiness was added, if any was added or whatever. I liked this cut of the movie. Like that was a much better scene, a much better story. than what they'd done before. Not having this campy shit behind me was a much better story than what they had before. Like, yes, it's funny. Yes, I have it up there because it's a memorable thing for me, but it's not cool. It doesn't add and enhance the movie in any way whatsoever. That scene with Lois owning Superman or owning Clark, Superman, whatever,
Yep.
elevated the story so goddamn much. Like, why they didn't allow that to be used because of petty squabbles is fucking stupid.
That and probably who would shoot Superman with a gun, especially Lois. It's like, oh, come on. That's just some stupid reasoning. I mean, that's purely subjection.
Well,
but this whole cut of the movie just makes the movie feel completely different. And I love it. I mean, I have, honestly, I have fond memories of the theatrical version of it. And I remember enough. Like, I see Kevin's picture the second he loaded it up. I was like, oh, which cut of the movie did you watch?
Everything else is from the Donner cut, I promise.
Yeah. But like, I got a special place in my heart for that movie. But as a kid, it was great. As an adult, this is my movie. This is the cut I want to watch every freaking time. Now, will I go back and watch the theatrical just for shits and giggles? Probably. By the end of the week, I will.
See, I grew up never having seen Star Trek 2. I don't think I watched Star Trek 2 from start to
Wrath
finish.
of Khan?
Yeah. Until I was in my 20s when I bought it on DVD. And I'd seen bits and pieces of it. It just, my dad never rented that one. Like 3 and 4 was his gig, and 5. But when I finally got around to 2, wow. I was like, Pop, what do you mean you didn't like this movie? Like, this was the shit. And then watching the director's cut of part 2 again, you're just like, pow! Like,
yeah.
Paramount screwed this shit up.
Oh, just I don't think I've ever seen the director's. No, that's because they haven't done it. William Shatner's direction. I think it's Final Frontier. I don't think anybody's seen that cut. But like the director's cuts for most of those movies are phenomenal. Director's cuts in general, not always, are really good cuts. But sometimes you see these director cuts and it's like, I kind of like the theatrical a little bit better.
Yeah.
So sometimes it was a good thing that the studio was like, nah, this doesn't work. So every once in a while, even a blind squirrel will find a nut. And every once in a while, the studio will make a note, and it might actually be a good idea.
Yes. We watched something just recently. We were kind of like, you know what? Thank God, studio. Thank you for getting involved. But I cannot remember what the fuck it was.
Oh, I'd have to look at our list. I don't even remember.
It's not Krampus. I want to say it's Krampus, but it's not Krampus. Krampus is what I bought. That's the director's cut that I most recently bought that I need to watch.
Was it Thanksgiving or something?
No.
For Eli Roth? No, okay.
I don't think. I don't even know if there was a director's cut of that.
Just an extended cut for like violence, but I'm pretty sure we watched that. Let's see. Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, Trick or Treat, Blade. Maybe it was Blade because of La Magra.
Oh, yeah, that might have been. It was. That it is what it was, because the deleted scenes had the animated, half animated La Magra.
God, like Blade says in that movie, some mother effers always trying to ice skate up a hill. That was terrible.
Yeah. But every once in a while, it does happen. Universal will be like, you know what? We need to make this a little bit more family friendly. Let's change it to be this way. Let's not kill that character.
Right.
All right. We'll let them live. They get a reprieve.
For now. But what shouldn't get a reprieve, though, Kevin, is the bad.
Oh, let's
gotta talk about it.
Bang!
I'm getting beat up by a fucking asshole truck driver.
This fucked me up as a kid. Superman getting knocked the fuck out by an asshole dressed up like Large Marge.
Not
What
even 2
the
hours to
fuck?
being human either.
Yeah. And they hadn't even gotten nothing to eat. And this guy's
Yeah.
like sexually harassing Lois. Like, I didn't understand what sexual harassment was at 3 years old, but I understood what a creep was. And this guy is
Yeah.
most certainly a fucking creep. And then he's beating up Superman. That's a bad man. Bad man.
Yeah, bad man. And my one thought during this scene was all he had to do was probably just not wear his glasses. Because who's going to recognize him as Clark Kent up in Timbuktu, Canada, or wherever this was? Like, honestly, nobody going to know who you are. Keep the glasses off. Be your confident self. Because honestly, you take one look at Christopher Reeve or Clark Kent as Superman in full confidence mode, it's like, I ain't fucking with that dude.
No.
Bye. And take just one honest look, but no, he was still trying to hit the Clark Kent, mode of, oh, I'm fine. And then he starts getting a backbone. I was like, bro, you're about to get whooped.
Oh, by the end, yeah.
Yeah, like you gotta keep your confidence level up there, but the glasses and still trying to play off as Clark. Like, bro, come on. At least act like you're fucking Superman, even if you're not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But the bad.
Yeah.
I when you said that or when I'd said how great was this scene because they shortened it up, that's what I meant about how great was that. Not how great was the scene, but was it they shortened this segment where Clark doesn't have his powers, because that is this movie's Cheer Up Charlie segment.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it. It has to happen. Like, it's very pivotal to the entire story, but it is the moment that slows down the entire movie. He's not Superman. He can't do anything.
Yeah, the movie comes to basically a screeching halt, and while I don't like this as a plot device in the movie, it is necessary to understand how the movie ends because of what happens in the Fortress of Solitude, is being in the chamber, having his powers removed, subsequently gets them back, and then he turns it right around on, the unholy trio at the end of the movie and takes out their powers. So how do you explain that to the audience of a bunch of casual normie people at the time? Because who really knew Superman that wasn't like great grandpa? But understanding, like, how is he going to take care of these fuckers? Well, he's got to get their powers removed. Unfortunately, you have to educate the audience to that, and this resulted in the 5-minute kind of, all right, we're slowing down here, but and I understand what they were trying to do. I don't think this came across that great, and but at least they kept it brief. They kept it moving after this. They didn't slow down for a whole half an hour like a Snyder film would do.
Oh God, yeah. Let's show him walk the entire way back.
Yeah, like that was, at least that was only like 30 seconds long.
Yes. So much shorter than the theatrical cut.
Yep.
So I liked it being shorter. I am down with it. The bad though, I mean, that there is that scene for me. It's not a bad plot device, but like you, I just didn't appreciate it as much. I appreciate that it gets over quickly in this version, much more so than its existence. But there are certain plot holes, and even Idaho Mike is bringing them up.
I'm loading that up here. This is in the theatrical. It is not in this cut.
It is not, no. But that being said, that is one of many plot holes in this movie that you're just kind of like, well, what about okay. Some of it you just kind of have to like suspend disbelief. And that's what we've been tiptoeing around is the very end where you're just kind of like, are we doing this again?
All right.
Like,
and for audio listeners, Idaho Mike says, My only issue was when they were fighting in the Fortress of Solitude by disappearing and reappearing. Superman said that this was a game that he played on his own planet when he was a child. So that's a theatrical version only, not a Donner cut.
Yep. And the scenes where Zod heats up the shotgun and then makes it float to him.
Yeah,
Zod,
that was kind of odd.
He doesn't have telepathy.
Yeah.
I don't,
that was a new one to me.
yeah. And that one we can blame on Donner. So whatever. And gosh, there was
well, let me ask you a question on that, because in the theatrical, I know we're going to talk about theatrical here, but in the theatrical, doesn't it end with Superman kissing Lois and she fucking forgets because of that?
Yes, and that's terrible. That is fucking awful. I always hated that.
So that kind of mental kind of fucking thing is set up almost by that shotgun, in my opinion. Because if Zod can do that and they got some sort of telepathy, then Superman can use his fucking brain to cook brain cells and make somebody forget that they were in love with him.
That's
and that
right.
He was Superman.
So that might have been one of those scenes where they're just like, you know what, let's throw that shit in there.
I would have just appreciated the shotgun just dropping. Heat it up, drop.
Or explode, have the shell explode inside the barrel.
Yeah, there's a wild amount of inconsistencies at times, and it's hard to kind of point the finger at who to blame. You can't really blame the editors. They're working with different cuts here.
Yeah.
And different directors and probably the studio. So, I mean, I'll give it a pass, but it is annoying at times, jumping between some scenes like that and being like, where the hell, what is going on here? What is happening? And it almost feels like it's trying to be goofy and somebody's trying to undo all the goofy, and they just kind of missed a couple things along the way.
Yeah. Or they had to have it in there. Like there was nothing left that they couldn't cut. Like that one cheese, that one slice stuck.
Yeah. Well, and also to the point of things that are, I feel, missing in this movie is we never see Otis again. We never see Miss Tessmacher again. After Miss Tessmacher helped Lex escape from prison in a hot air balloon. Dear God, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of. And it helps him get to the North Pole. She finds the bathroom, and then we never see her ever again in this movie.
That's not it.
Oh, and Mike, and why did Superman turn his head and close his eyes after using his laser eyes to blow up a wall that was tossed at him in the big city fight?
Because it's debris in his eyes, man. Clear your eyes.
Yeah, because the falling debris on the street's going to kill about like 5 to 12 people at least within that blast radius. And dude, if you get a nick in that eye, he can't shoot those lasers no more. So people had to die for him to be able to see again.
I had LASIK.
we can explain stupid shit too around here.
I always liked that thing as a kid, and I don't know why. Like,
he doesn't have super eyes.
No. That's his Achilles tendon. It's his Clark eyes.
Yep. That's why he wears glasses.
Yeah.
Maybe Superman should get a nice pair of blue blockers on. That look totally bitchin'.
Blue blockers. In the 90s, cops got into these sunglasses called gargoyles.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those.
Because they were bulletproof.
Until they weren't.
Yeah. I'm like, for real, dog? Like, I bought a pair because they look cool.
Might as well wear Ray-Bans, but...
Yeah, honestly, 20 years later, that's what I'm wearing. I went back to my fucking Predator 2s. I went back to my Ray-Bans.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I love my MIBs. Anyways, so the inconsistencies with this movie, those are kind of forgivable. The lack of Otis and lack of Optimus Tessmacher, that was because of the year-long gap that you talked about,
Yeah.
and them needing to shoot their scenes with Donner and only wanting to shoot their scenes with Donner.
Yep.
And because they didn't get to film the scenes in time, they just didn't get shot. And the new storyline didn't get back to it. They omitted it.
Yep. But don't worry. We'll see Lex Luthor back in Superman 4 when he creates Nuclear Man with his idiot nephew, played by John Cryer, who still remains an idiot to this day.
But played a great Lex Luthor on Supergirl.
I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Otisburg never came to fruition yet. California still stands. Once it's gone, Otisburg will be a thing.
That reminds me of like something I still felt was a bit in this movie was poor like Mr. Luthor still wanted his California coast while he still wanted while wanting the continent of Australia and Cuba.
Cuba.
He wanted Cuba as a cherry on top.
You know what's funny about that is that's just like, why Cuba? The Cold War, dude. Oh yeah, that's right.
No, it's for cigars, man.
Oh. I thought it was all the missiles and shit.
No, I think it was for the cigars.
Or just to own Castro and all the communists.
Could be. Because if you believe Lex's self-proclamation as the greatest criminal mind on the planet Earth.
Yeah, I told you these were a weak people.
Well, I did like how duplicitous he was, but I didn't think he was playing much of a great Lex Luthor in this movie. But I love Hackman. He did very well. I just think Lex as a character just is kind of off in this movie, but still enjoyable.
Yes. Yeah. He's much more of a coward in this one, and it shows. And it's okay because it was like Superman calls him a coward and a diseased maniac and all sorts of different names.
And he used that to his advantage in the climax of the movie too. So
yeah. And it's so fun where they're like, oh, it's him, son of Kal-El. Oh, thank God. Oh, get him.
That's why I put that as our bumper to our intro instead of the Kneel Before Zod, because everybody else uses that freaking clip. I want to use different things to have a little more fun with our intros.
I just thought that was great. Oh,
I loved it. I just cracked when I was watching it last night. I just about died laughing. I nearly fell out of my chair back here. I'm like, oh my God. And my stomach I'm not kidding. I was having a laughing fit when that happened. It just cracked me the hell up.
Oh God. This picture, again, the first two movies, I love them as a collection. I love them. The second one, I have the fun. I have the fun watching the fight. And I think I like I said, that's why I like the concept of Man of Steel, but God, that delivery just didn't land for me like this one did. And this is so much cheaper and campier than Man of Steel was. I know, but it just landed better for me.
Yeah. Not too much else for me other than the whole production history of this, like getting rid of Donner and what even created this cut to happen versus Lester's cut and the theatrical cut. It's just bad all around. I mean, I believe in Dick Donner.
Yeah.
Who doesn't believe in Dick?
I dig Dick. I want a quarter every time someone says that now.
Super chat us.
I dig Dick.
We'll have Kevin say it every time there's a super chat, even if it's only $1.
I don't think Dick Donner ever made a bad movie. I really don't. Like, I love his pictures. He's
very good filmmaker. It's like, why does Warner Brothers have this issue with directors after X number of like good successful films? Then there's just one, and it's like they turn into complete assholes to these guys. Like, these guys have made you fucking money. What are you doing? Seriously. Do you really have a hard on up your ass to like, oh, we can't just make like 350. We want to make 400 million. So fire this fucker and bring on somebody else who's not nearly as qualified to do this job.
And pay them less so we make more.
Yeah. So I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
You know what? This was the 70s in Hollywood. Everything involved cocaine, pussy, or cock.
And dick.
And dick.
So.
That's what every squabble was about.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So. But otherwise, no. There's not a whole lot else that's bad. Anything really that's bad in Superman 2, and this is getting towards Final Judgment, I think anything that's bad in Superman 2 is corrected by the Donner cut.
Yeah, and then anything left from the Donner cut that's kind of iffy is just, it feels just, it's just to nitpicky things. Yeah. Nothing is substantially wrong. Yeah, there's some plot holes, there's some inconsistencies. It's enough to bring it down a couple of points, but ultimately the movie plays really well with the first one. I would almost cut out the opening, like, first 10 minutes that is basically a recap of the first one. Yeah. Just go straight to when the mirror shatters that releases them and just get moving. There's still going to be a little recap going on, but it'll just flow right on into the story seamlessly. But there's a super cut out there that combines the two movies together. But, you know, yeah, I don't have much else for bad other than I just wish we had gotten more of a actual fight at the very end instead of, oh, you lose your powers, I'm going to punch you, you're dead. You fall down, you're dead. Lois, you take out the bitch, boom, she dead.
I can't hit a lady.
In like 5 seconds, basically, is what it felt like. I'm like, oh man, it's over in like 30 seconds.
But it was
That's
funny.
About it, though. I mean, like I said, it's mostly nitpicky things. I don't really feel like there's too much actual flaws with the Donner cut. No, the theatrical cut, I would eviscerate that for its total campiness tone. And as an adult, I don't know about that movie. Gonna have to watch it again to make a real assessment. But I prefer this cut. Feels like a proper sequel.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rebuy the box set just so I have this now.
Yeah.
And a damn fine copy of it to boot.
Might as well head on over to Final Judgment because we're already doing it anyway.
Right? I gotta move the banner for a
second. My god. That's right, Oos.
Please
come on, Oos.
Please don't throw me.
That's right, Oos.
Yeah, he uses that word differently than what the most of the world uses it, but I like his usage of it too. Yeet typically means to throw something or someone.
Yeet.
Yeet that motherfucker across anyway. Yeah, I love that Yeet. In this where he just fucking picks him up, hoists him up by the dick, and then throws him off the fucking cliff or into the cavern. And it's like, oh, that was so cool. To your point, yes, very quick, but it didn't need to pan out, didn't need to have a speech, didn't need to fucking have that long dramatic, no, please don't kill those people. Don't make me kill you.
No, this was satisfying. What I mean by like kind of with the fights, and I probably should have brought this up during the bad, was Non. He's described as this complete, utter, like, juggernaut.
Yeah.
To Superman, and he doesn't even act like that most of the movie until the big fight scene with Superman. That's when he seems like he's starting to get a little crazy, but they build him up to be this, he's a wild, untamable, large, giant beast. And all I can think of when I hear some of that is, I'm the juggernaut, bitch. A dude who can wreck walls and just wreck shop just in general. And he doesn't really do any of that. So
Yeah.
and then his death is just like, bye.
I suck. I regret nothing.
Yep, I regret nothing. He almost had the look that it was a Die Hard with Alan Rickman when he's falling from the Nakatomi Tower. It's like, oh no, I can't fly.
Or fucking Will Ferrell at the end of fucking Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Oh,
Fuck me! It was the same kind of falling scene from fucking Die Hard, but he screams, "Oh fuck me!"
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, this you can't say that on Superman, especially back in '81. But
no.
gosh, yeah, this was amazing. I'd like to see that supercut and just sit and watch both pictures back to back. This is the version of the movie that I'd want to show my kids if they ever like had the patience to sit and watch a motion picture. I don't know. I don't know about the original cut. I'd show them later on in life. They can make their own choices about it later, kind of like religion.
Yeah.
Like
Parenting 101 on 0-Point Reviews.
You can decide on Catholic Christianity and Superman 2 when you get older. But for right now, I'm going to teach you this.
It's our public service announcement.
I don't know. I really liked this one. It needs to be in my collection.
What would you give it out of a 10?
9. I'd give this a 9. The Donner cut definitely deserves 9. It's clever. It's witty. It keeps the very same vein as the first movie does. It doesn't really stagger at all. I liked it. I'm having fun non-stop. Like you said, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at my watch. What am I doing? I'm sitting here having fun. It's a popcorn movie. You could laugh, you're entertained, you're excited.
You can get choked up a little bit too.
Yeah, this is not something that's necessarily enjoyed by Snyderverse pictures or fans. I'm hoping this is what Superman 2025 is going to be, or Superman Legacy, whatever they're going to call it. Like a brighter, more fun picture, much more simplistic picture where there's a good guy, there's a bad guy, and somebody in the middle that's got to save everybody from everybody else.
Right.
This is just the bomb.
Yep. I feel like this is the best cut of this movie, and I'm probably going to go a little more 8.5. I really appreciate what they did with this movie, what the original idea was. I absolutely would have loved Donner to be able to have a full version of his movie without having to be like, we'll borrow from this, we'll take alternate shots, that we'll kind of fib it to get it as close as possible to my cut. So that being said, the performances are amazing in this movie. Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, Terrence Stamp, all of them fantastic. Like Perry is still Perry, Jimmy is still Jimmy. It's basically just more of the first movie. It's just the second half of the story that they really wanted to tell. And it works exceedingly well. And I appreciate the time and effort that went into making this cut happen, giving us the best possible picture quality, making it available for everybody to see. I love the fact that at least they eventually came around to do that. Warner Brothers could easily have said, screw you fans, the theatrical cut's the only one you're ever going to get. Forget Donner, forget everything, fuck off. At least they did come around to that. I doubt this made money for them in perpetuity beyond this, to be like, hey, you can finally have the Donner cut, and you can have Marlon Brando's scenes reinstored and everything like that. So I love the story. I think it's fantastic. Editing is pretty top notch. Consistencies notwithstanding at times. And then an 8.5 and a must own for the collection if you are a Superman fan.
Yes. Yeah. This is the best of the superhero pictures back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you can easily point back to like say like this version and the previous and Superman the motion picture as the two movies that launched comic book movies into the stratosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously we wouldn't have Batman without this, like, at all. Superman was the Mickey Mouse of comic book characters. He came out long before Spider-Man got his movie, and he will continue to have movies, even more so than Batman, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll always be trying to make Superman, and sometimes they'll fail, sometimes they won't. This actually reminds me of a comment from Mike earlier that I thought was a good thing I kind of wanted to talk about as far as like the new Superman movie, because we're kind of talking about that right now. And why did Superman turn his head and close his eyes after using his laser eyes? Oh, no, wait, not that one. Oh, here it is. I know, Mike. Reminds me of how folks are upset at the new Superman trailer of how he flinches when somebody throws a can at his head. I don't think that's a flinch. That's more of a blink of the eye of disappointment of people turning their back on him. Like, I'm trying to help you, and it's not a flinch of pain. And like people, you're going to read into that however you're going to read into that. I don't see it the same way other people do. And while I am interested and I'm looking forward to the movie, I do have concerns about how the movie's going to ultimately be. I want it to be fucking awesome. I think it's going to be good. I just don't think it's going to be as good as it should be to launch a whole new universe. I could be proven wrong. It could be absolutely fucking terrible. It could be trash, or it could be the best goddamn Superman movie we've had since Christopher Reeve's Superman 1 and 2. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Question is will that make money or not? But I don't see that as a flinch. I see that as a blink of disappointment of, And if you watch these two movies, you can see he has that look at times. He's not always smiling all the flipping time. He has his moments where it's like, what's going on here? Oh, I'm disappointed in you. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? He gets his ass kicked in the diner. Even with losing his powers, he still has a real emotional attachment to things, and he shows emotion. So he's not smiling all the goddamn time.
No.
Just saying.
No, fucking this humanized him more than the first movie did, I think. Shit.
Yeah. It definitely did. Like he was more human in his like adolescent years before he turned into basically Superman at that pivotal moment when he goes on his 12-year journey to Krypton and back. And then when he's back, he's Christopher Reeve Superman. So
yeah.
And then he's just Clark Kent Superman. We don't really encounter any problems until he gets the kryptonite around his neck. And even then, it's still not like that. So
no. And now here he's basically saying, I want to be that person again. I want to be human. I deserve that.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Well, we've been talking about this for a while. Got any final thoughts, Kevin? Or you ready to say goodnight to everybody?
Oh, I'm ready to say goodnight. This was a great picture. I'm sorry I took so long to see it. Fucking golly, I thought I liked it before.
Me too. This is my first time watching.
This was a treat. This may have hurt the new Superman movie when it comes out because this was so much fun. Like, I imagine it's still going to be a much better picture than this or more exciting, but I really dug this picture. I dug the cleverness of it. It was just fun.
Well, and won't be as much fun, but will be a fun review for everybody next week. Superman 3, Richard Pryor and a gaggle of insanity of which we know no bounds. So That's what's coming up next week, everybody. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please make sure you hit that like button down below. We'd greatly appreciate it. Comment if you got any favorite memories, thoughts about this movie. You like the Donner cut? You prefer the theatrical cut? Put the comments down below. Let's get that chat rolling, and make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. We are doing very well on over here, and we want everybody to join us. So tune on in. We'll see you all on the next one. And once I find my outro button.
The three villains from Krypton have taken over the White House.
No. Kneel before Zod.
Metropolis is almost in ruins. And Superman has lost his powers. Or has he? As the adventure continues in Superman 2, rated PG.